to the Degraded Daughters.
Welcome.
Welcome. We're so happy to see you guys again. We have had just the best response this week. It's been so encouraging. It has been about a week since we have launched, as you will be seeing this video, and the support that we've received is just what's making us show up here today. And we want to continue to normalize mental health recovery from Scientology and community and letting people know they're not alone. So on that note, we're going to share a little bit about our own stories, probably be a two-part episode. This first part, we're going to talk about Elysia's background, and she's going to tell us a little bit about how she became the beautiful woman that we know today. Elysia, would you like to tell us about you?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the intro. Hey, so I was born in 86 and picked my family, picked my body, born in 86 in the heart of LA, and lived there in a big old Victorian house, but we rented out rooms to other Scientologists only because that's the way to do it. So we had other people and families living with us, and I lived there from when I was born until I was 7. So we lived there through the LA riots in 1992, which was pretty intense. Yeah, our city was just literally on fire.
I remember.
Not great. I mean, understandable response for everything that was going on in the world, but just not a safe place. So we actually had to, my mom packed us kids up. And I think my cat that I had stolen from someone who lived in a van in front of our house, I stole my first cat. I didn't know it, but she was pregnant and had her kittens with us. So when I was like, 6, I had a cat that had kittens. So I was like a grandma at 6.
Your first foster litter.
Right. And so we had her and her kittens. So we just drove. My mom drove us to Kentucky, which is quite a long trip from LA. And then when we came back, it was just a little bit different after that. And we only stayed there for like another year. And then 1993, we moved from LA into the suburbs. I think the riots was pretty scary. Like, we were in the best neighborhood. Like, we had stray bullets that would come through our backyard. Fun times.
That was when you came back, or that was
before? Like, it was always like a rough neighborhood. So, But after the riots, I think that was like the last straw, and my parents moved us to the suburbs in La Crescenta. So moved there when I was 7, went to school there, and that's when I had to repeat first grade because I didn't really get a lot of the core stuff down from first grade in a school that everybody spoke Spanish besides me and my older sibling. So repeated first grade and went through elementary school in La Crescenta. And before elementary was up in 1996, my mom got really sick, and we didn't really know why, because she was not big into doctors, as many Scientology people aren't. But
testing of Western medicine, unless you're going to our personal pediatrician and doctor.
Holla Dr. Dink, if that was your doctor.
Dr. Dink, holla.
Right at the, what is it?
Shaw Health Center.
Yeah, Shaw Health Center. There we go. I actually got vaccines too. Yeah.
I didn't. Oh, actually, I did because it was required for a public school camp.
I was gonna say there was a few that were like required.
I got one when I was 13 there, but no, not aside from that. But our doctor, both her and I's doctor, was L. Ron Hubbard's personal doctor, so we thought we were special. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, we didn't know that until like very recently, like for me.
No, yeah, on the journey out, we found out by reading the death.
He was very nice. He gave us lollipops.
We saw Dr. Dank's name on the coroner's report and the death certificate, and then realized we were being served by the same man.
Yeah, I bet you so many Scientology kids went to him just because he was right.
Well, for all of you remember, everybody went to Shaw Health Center.
I think so.
Shields. So.
Yeah, I mean, that was the place to be.
Yeah.
So when I was 10 years old, my mom got really sick. We didn't know why or what was going on, but she was losing weight. She was coughing up blood. tired, just not really able to do what she would normally do. And after however long she was sick, she finally ended up accidentally calling the wrong person at her husband's job. And he was like, "Where are you? I haven't seen you in the office." And she's like, "Well, I'm sick." And he's like, "Well, go to the doctor. I got really good health care specifically for that," which is
Your
in and of
your
itself.
dad, right? You said her husband, but it's your dad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just clarifying.
Yeah. For clarification. But so yeah, so she got transferred to the wrong person and went to the boss instead of her husband and told him because he was curious and concerned. And so she ended up going to the doctor because she found out she had health insurance through that. So
So
yes,
she didn't know she had health insurance until she accidentally called the wrong person?
yeah. Because
Okay.
you don't go to the doctor, right? Like, I mean,
Like,
it's
not
wild.
even a consideration.
No, and it's so weird because even so she finally went to a doctor. They told her what she had. She had lung cancer and then double pneumonia because it had been sitting in her system for so long. So thankfully, since she was so sick, she accepted medical help, which was pretty big. And so yeah, so it was a pretty strange time because we're in elementary school, nothing's really abnormal besides just mom getting sick. So I was 10 when that happened. And of course, since we didn't know how she got sick, because you have to have a root cause,
In
we were all told to like line
Scientology,
up.
they believe that there's a like an external factor causing an illness.
Right. Like
Without-
someone's like suppressive or there's PTSD. Like someone is like there like making you sick. You don't just get sick. Something or someone is making you sick. So all of the kids had to like tell her, like confess our sins pretty much, but she was like laid in bed, like unable to get up, and it was really creepy.
You had to
But
do overts and withholds.
yeah, overts and withholds, exactly. We had to like write down anything we did that could be like killing her. So like I'm thinking I'm killing my mom by like having not told her stuff. So it was just wild. And we were like literally just like lined up and then telling her and and it's like, what is this gonna do besides traumatize us horribly?
I'm sorry, you deserved like love and sensitivity and like explaining of what was going on and that
Right.
it was nothing to do with you.
No, oh no,
Like,
but we all thought it. Well, I thought it was. I'll just speak for myself. I was like, oh my gosh, what do we do to get mom sick like this? Because this is not good. So that was a whole weird thing. So she did finally accept medical help. And she was in the hospital for about maybe 6 to 8 weeks because she had to have surgery and then she had to recover. They took out half her lung. So it was a whole thing. And it was really surprising that she didn't really fight it more, but she was really scared to die because she had kids and 4 kids. And, the youngest was 7 and, the oldest was 13. So,
well,
a lot.
Scientologists will accept medical help when it's at the very
Yeah.
pivotal point. It's just
Right.
they don't use preventative care, which is why we're living so long.
Right. So it's kind of a weird thing. So after she recovered, it was still in the school year. So she recovered. And then that summer after her surgery, after school was out, she took all of the kids and we went to Oregon where she had family. So we thought we were just taking a trip because she needed to recover in somewhere that didn't have so much smog because LA area is pretty notorious for having loads of smog. And since she was down half a lung, it was hard for her to breathe. So that was her like reasoning. But once we got there, it was like we just lived there all summer with our cousins, and it was really fun. Because no one else in either side of my family is Scientologist, like at all. Like my parents are both the only Scientologists, and so I think it's always been a weird thing that like we're the Scientologist family, like, and it's strange and all that.
Yeah.
So we lived there and we had a lot of fun, and it was just a really fun summer. We got to be normal kids. We got to play. We had sugar, which is a big thing for us because we didn't always have sugar, but
We were very granola kids, like,
peanut butter and honey sandwiches. I remember that at daycares. Like, I mean, not that it's bad, but like that was like our sugar high was like honey, which is so wild.
Gooches.
Oh my gosh, yes. I forgot about that. Oh, what a blast for the past. Totally forgot about that one.
Because we were sent to like nutritionists instead of, so it's not that our parents didn't care about our health. They just believe differently. Like if you
Very
went
different.
to a doctor who
Yeah. Like
diagnosed
vitamins will save you.
candida, and then I had like a candida diet at age 6, but didn't ever go to real doctor, it's crazy.
Isn't it wild? It's
Yeah.
you know, it's like, what were you guys thinking? Or whatever.
Yeah.
So we were there, and then we were enrolled to go to school in Oregon. So for a while we thought, oh, I guess we're just gonna like stay living here, I guess. And so we were kind of excited and pumped up. And then the party ended because our father showed up and was like, you need to get back home. So we had to go back home.
Why
But we
did
had a
you
summer
go
of
back?
fun
Why?
because I mean, I'm sure it didn't look good, you know, but essentially, I don't know what their whole spew was, but I think for my mom, it was her way to like kind of maybe escape, you know, like,
Like that separation and then came back.
yeah, and maybe like reevaluate life and like, you know, where she wants to live and what she wants to do and all that kind of fun stuff. So we went back home. Um, yeah, so we went back home and then we started school the next year, which was just, you know, regular school, all that. So I finished elementary school and then middle school came, and middle school was fun. I went to 7th grade, and it was like all these new kids from all the other middle schools because, you know, middle school is like all the nearby elementary schools merging together. So 7th grade was a lot of fun, and really liked it. And then the summer between 7th grade and 8th grade happened, and we lived in a pretty quiet town. I would say it was really cute and quaint, and like nothing too wild was there. I mean, we had the suburbs all around us. You know, you can go to LA and Pasadena and Burbank and Glendale and all the stuff that's nearby, but we were in a relatively safe, quiet, you know, family friendly, kid friendly
You're talking
community.
about La Crescenta?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many Scientologists who live in the foothills.
Right.
Between Montrose, La Crescenta, La Cañada, Tujunga, Sunland. It's a very highly populated Scientology area too. So I'm sure your parents felt safer.
Probably so. Like-minded people that live around you and all that.
Completely. I heard something when I was younger. I'm sure it was false, but they said like 1 in 5 residents in Sunland, Tujunga was a Scientologist.
That sounds very high.
It's another of the fake numbers,
Yeah.
but I thought that. So yeah.
Hey, if it makes people feel better, I guess, whatever you want to believe, right?
Did your life get easier or better when you got to?
I mean, 7th grade was fun, and then 7th grade summer there was 2 murders that happened from kids that were a grade higher than me.
I remember that at the park.
And yeah, and so it was really, really tragic and really kind of shook the community.
Mhm.
It was kind of the first that I remember, you know, crime that was, you know, horrendous, and it was really intense, and a lot of kids were really upset because that was their friends, and I knew people that knew the kids. I didn't know them directly, but my parents freaked out because they thought, oh, well, she's headed in the same direction, or something bad could happen, or she might know them, whatever. And so when 8th grade came, I was getting ready and talking to my friend the night before school was to start, and we were gonna carpool. She was gonna pick us up, and it was gonna be me and my younger brother. He was gonna be in 7th grade, and so we were getting it all set up. And my parents were acting a little bit sketch, a little bit weird about school, and they were like, "You don't need to get a ride to school." And I was like, "No, I do, because I'm gonna go to school. I have school tomorrow. It's the first day." So it's just really sketchy stuff. And so I was just like getting a really bad feeling, a bad vibe about everything. So I set my alarm, and I was just like, well, whatever. They're just not really for school. Maybe that's just it. I don't know. So I set my alarm, go to sleep, and I wake up the next day. My alarm didn't go off, and I woke up late, which was really strange. And I was like, oh, so I got out of bed really quick, trying to wake up my brother so he can go start getting ready, because we have to get ready and be on time. It's the first day of school. We're going to be picked up in like 35 minutes or whatever. And so as I'm like, you know, getting ready, busting my tail, getting ready, Like my parents are like, you don't need to get ready. And I was like, yes, I do. I'm going to school. It's the first day of school. Like it's not summer anymore. We're going to school. And it was just this back and forth. If you don't need to, you don't need to get ready. There's no reason. No one's picking you up. And I was like, yeah, they are. It was just this weird back and forth. And they're like, well, you're not going to go. You're not going to go to school there. And I was like, yeah, I am. So we were just arguing the whole morning. And so eventually I was just getting ready and I was just like, well, I'll just run. I'll just walk to school, whatever. Like I'll just run out the front door and just go.
Only second generation Scientologists will run to school because it's a public school.
Same place.
Wow. Okay.
So I wasn't told where I was going or what was happening other than I didn't need to get ready and I wasn't going to go there. And so I was just really fighting it. And I think my parents were trying not to like drop what was really happening because they think they knew I would have run away, which I would have. But essentially my dad had to pick me up and like carry me downstairs. And I'm grabbing the rail and screaming and kicking and yelling and not a pretty scene because I didn't know what was happening and I just didn't know. I just knew it was going to be not good. So he put me in the back of the car, locked the car doors because he knew I'd run away, like run out, you know. And then he and my mom went to go, I guess, and pack.
Huh? I said because you're feral. He had to.
I am feral. I've always been feral. I play with the strays in LA, like of course. Born and bred. What do you want from me? But so I was just like, okay, so my brothers are there, just like sitting there, like not knowing what's going on, but not being wild like me. So I'm like, okay, doors are locked, but let me jump out the window. So I roll down the window to try to jump out, but I wasn't quick enough to jump out. So they locked those two. So yeah. So then I was driven for like, it seemed like 2 hours, but maybe it was like an hour and 45 minutes, an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that, into the middle of nowhere. Like the desert, nothing was really there. It was like a few gas stations for truckers that were just coming through the area. And I want to say the closest town was maybe 30 or 45 minutes away. I think it was Barstow, California was the closest town. And that's not I don't remember it being that, like it was big for us because there was nothing there, but I don't think it's really that.
To the Mojave Desert School, correct?
I went to Mojave Boarding Academy or boarding school. I feel like they've changed the name a few times, so I don't know exactly what it goes by. But yeah, so I came there. We went to the lady's house who was running it. My parents talked to her for a little bit and I was playing with her daughter, I think it was. And then they dropped me off at the farm. So there's two different buildings. There's the Life Basics, which is where the first people you go when you first get there. And they called it the farm. I'm not sure
that's why. Where I spent time when I was.
Yeah, that's where I was the whole time. I literally never went anywhere else. I never moved up. I mean, I went to the main house when it was the 4 days off. And they would have all the kids in one area at once because who wants to watch kids in two different places?
Oh, so they wouldn't send you home for those days. They just didn't have school for those days.
Yeah. So you went to school for 10 days straight. So 10 days straight. And then you would have 4 days off. And if you lived in the LA area, they would have a bus like that would come and pick you up and drop you off. And then they would pick you up at the same spot and take you back 4 days later. So if you lived close enough, hypothetically, you could go home every 10 days for 4 days. And then you could have sugar and watch TV and play video games because there was no TV out there. We were not allowed sugar. We were not allowed any kind of internet, like nothing. When I mean we were out there playing with dirt, we were just out there. It was just dirt.
I remember you guys were like putting pigs under dirt and they were cooking in the sun and there was like
it's just weird. Yeah, it's just like bizarre
walking and it was like a really bizarre. Oh, and that very scary man, Sarge, who that's why I ran back home.
He was intense.
I'm not staying here. That was a very scary man making
every morning
and like yell like sergeant style. It was definitely boarding school experience, but Scientology version. And it's
definitely Scientology. And he was like a retired Marine, I think it was like a retired Marine.
I know a lot of people have stories about him.
Yeah, he was pretty wild and he was definitely older. Like, I don't know if he was in his 70s when I was there because I was there.
Yeah, he was old.
2000 to 2001. So I mean, yeah. And I know he was there after I left too, for
Yeah.
however long. So he
So
was
you guys
intense.
were able to come back
He
home.
was a drill sergeant for sure. It was nuts.
Yeah.
It like literally, it was a drill sergeant, not fun.
Right.
But yeah, I was supposed to just learn. My learning was playing with clay because I had to do clay demos and I hated it and I didn't do it because I didn't want to be part of the group most of the time because I was pissed that I was there. So I just sit in my dorm. I kind of got lucky because I was the only girl at the farm for most of my stay. So I had the whole double wide trailer.
Lucky, she says.
Lucky.
I'm just, just to clarify, lucky.
Lucky.
Okay,
Well,
go
I
on.
mean, it did have bunk beds, right? So I could have been in there with like 8 to 10 other girls, and there's one bathroom. So that's where it's lucky.
Definitely.
Like,
It could have been way worse.
at least when I was like isolating and going to cry, I could have my own time and space and be away from everybody. Because those kids were a little bit wild, a lot of bit wild. I was wild, but these kids were like freaking animals, like, and not in the best way always. Like,
Well, they didn't have very much developmental help. And
yeah, and they
uh,
were nice sometimes, but they would like cross the line and test the boundaries. And it was really unfortunate because I was like ready to fight them. Like at any point, I was like, let's fight, let's go. I got brothers, like, I'm not scared of you. But also, like, the teacher was encouraging them to be little shits, which also didn't help. So it was very much okayed for them to be like bullies and mean and pick on people. So
it's
yeah, it
very
was
prevalent in our culture, and Scientology kids, I believe, in my experience, are the biggest bullies I've ever met. I've had to undo a lot of like considerations I have because of things we've done and said to each other.
right.
Um, I didn't think, like, I thought people were just kind of jerks. And then I got in the real world and I was like, oh, you don't treat your friends that way? Like, it's just how it is for whatever. It comes down from the top, right? It's how we're
I was
taught.
just gonna say, I feel like most of the kids, especially if their parents are working so much that they aren't really like mentally, emotionally, and physically raising them.
Yeah.
They send them off to schools for as much of the day or all of the day if you live there, like when I was there, as possible. So they don't really get a lot of one-on-one attention or time.
And there's not, this is something that really upsets me, is that because they're private Scientology schools, there are not the safeguards in place that there are at public schools.
Right.
So when kids are coming to school dirty, unfed, things like that, social services are not contacted, and that's not okay with me.
Yeah, it is it's a very, very sheltered bubble world. And when you're in it, I like, that was my point, that I realized like I am in this life alone. I'm only 14 and I was like, I cannot depend on anybody because this is wild. And and they also were very strange when I got there. There was a phone, but it was in I think the ethics officer's, like, her room was attached to the classroom, or her office, but it was her room and her office were, I think, like the same. So when I first got there, I was pissed. No one told me what was happening. I was just dumped off. And I really fought against Scientology my whole upbringing. So this was like a really, like, I couldn't get away from it.
I mean,
like,
you were kidnapped basically and brought
was literally
so
much, which is wild. But they also would not let me call my parents, like, at all. So
yeah, I think there was some kind of rule, right? Like,
yeah,
a week or two or something.
I think so, because they did not let me call for the first 10 days that I was there. I think they said I could call when the first 10 days was up because they didn't know, they recommended that I should stay there for the first 10 days and then 4 days off. So that would be 2 full weeks. Obviously, it's easier to indoctrinate people when that's all you think you have. If I was to go back home and run away from home, then I couldn't come back. So I think they played that scenario out pretty well. And so I stayed the first 10 days there, and then 4 days that I was off, I still stayed there because I don't remember them giving me the option at that point. It wasn't until I seemed like I was okay and I wasn't gonna just like be a flight risk that it was an option for me to,
yeah, you learned to perform to be able to contact.
Oh, for sure. Cause I literally was like, I'm not doing this. When they'd be like, you're supposed to do clay demos. And I was like, that's not learning. And I would tell them that, like, that's not educational, like, at all. And I was like, and that clay smells funky. Like, I'm sorry, that's some nasty clay from some dirty hands, from some dirty boys, because there's all boys there. They go outside and play in dirt and then come back like, that's nasty, man. I'm like, I'm not playing with clay. So to this day, clay, like the smell of it and the texture, I'm like, ugh, clay.
I propose we take clay back.
We should take clay back. And for so long, I have been so against clay.
Me too. The sense of it, we have all these internal tricks. For anyone who did not grow up the way we did, it's a topic in learning per L. Ron Hubbard, where when you don't have mass on a topic, you won't understand it as well. So part of the actual mass or example is building these in clay yourself. So, and it's like ridiculous. It's like full-blown concepts and paragraphs.
Full concepts. And you had to do the whole thing and get a pass.
Yeah.
If you get a pass, you had to go back and figure out what it was that teacher or instructor, and I say teacher loosely, because almost none of those people that are teachers have any education or degree.
No,
they're just doing a job that's not that great that most Scientologists don't want to do.
Definitely. But anyway, let's buy some clay and make some pretty things and bake it.
Take back clay. That's what we're gonna do. All 2023.
That's our new hashtag, taking back clay. So how long were you at Mojave for?
I was only there for 6 to 8 months. It wasn't even the full school year. So I guess in that sense, I was lucky, because I know kids that were there for a year, 2 years, depending on if they did the whole program.
Yeah.
And the program didn't teach you anything educational, anything. It was just Scientology stuff. It almost seemed more like a teen, like a troubled teen indoctrination camp.
Those camps they take people to, like reprogramming and
teenage
or whatever.
Yeah. So it was not a great place. It was a lot of wild stuff that happened there. So once I came back, and I don't even know why I stopped going, because I never finished the life basics. I didn't ever move up, nothing. I think probably because it was so expensive. I want to say it was like over $1,000 a month, and that was 2000 into 2001 that I was there. So, and that's a lot of money, and I wasn't learning anything. And obviously my relationship with my parents got really bad after that, because I was really, really pissed, because I'm like trying to just be in school, and it was like a fight.
I have a question. Did they have you working there? Because sometimes they have people like working for their boarding or something at a young age. And I do recall seeing you working on the Delphi campus when I was younger.
Right. So I didn't technically work for paying, but I did babysit a few people that were there, like younger kids. I would watch them and play with them sometimes, but not for not getting paid or anything. And then I also started being, I did the smoothies in the morning as we would go. I would make the smoothies in the morning. So I got upgraded, I was approved and upgraded to be able to do that at the farm, because we would go from our campus, our trailers, to the main house trailers, which is where Sarge was, and we did our boot camp. And then you do it was probably a good 45 minutes to an hour of hardcore exercises, jumping jacks, push-ups, scissors, crunches, and then you would get in formation and run on the street and do Marine chants, in formation. And
I remember that's what sent me running home.
Yeah, and he would be in his car driving right by you, and he
literally yelling from the car. Yeah.
And he would be like, pick up the pace. You in the back. You want to run extra laps? And we'd be running for miles. Some mornings we ran 3 to 5 miles, I feel because there was one time that they were all excited to run longer, and they're like, we're going to do 5 miles today. I'm like, why is that a good and this is all before eating breakfast. So This is all from 7 in the morning on, because we'd leave our trailers at 6:30 to get there and do warm-ups and stuff and muster and morning roll call to make sure everyone's there and all that at 7. So we'd be exercising, and then we get a small little breakfast, and then we would break and go back to our little farm, our trailers, and do our schooling, playing with clay. And they would do the same there. Although I think at the main house they did math, I think they had. It was like one of the subjects that maybe they got there. I don't know. That's what some girl told me. So I don't know.
Seems ineffective.
It was very wild. There was like, yeah, there was no actual education. So when I came back, my mom had started working at Delphi in La Cañada, which is where you went, right, Vanessa, for a bit. So, and that's a pretty big school.
Yeah, it was a big campus of like a couple different Scientology schools.
Right, because Renaissance was there.
Yeah, and then like Hogs Hollow was there, which was like for
that was little kids, right?
Yeah, but they're all like applied scholastic Scientology schools.
Right. Which is how they hire people that are not teachers and they can get away with it.
Yeah.
So I went there with no real plan of what to do. So I was just sitting in the classroom with my mom, and it was 2 teachers. So it was her and another teacher. And she was with like maybe 5 and 6-year-olds. They were really young. So she had little ones. So I would hang out with these little kids all day, which sounds bizarre, but I always liked kids and I was always around them. And so that
was enrolled in the school.
No.
And how old were you?
14 and then 15, because I probably started there before my birthday. So probably 14 when I started just hanging around. So yeah.
I remember seeing you on campus and I didn't know what the hell was going on because I was a student.
Right, because you were in school.
So, and you should have been too.
Right, which is funny because
you were carrying a baby around.
Yeah, so that's and what I ended up doing was the other teacher in my mom's classroom had an infant, a little son, and he was just hanging in a pack and play in the classroom. Which again, in what school would that be acceptable? Like
school,
it wouldn't, right? Totally normal. Totally normal. So I ended up because he was like 2 to 3 months, I think, when I started going there, and for a while he just like was in the pack and play, and the mom would take him out and feed him and try to do everything and teach these little kids, but it became way too much of a distraction because the little kids wanted to help with the baby, and so they weren't learning, and they really weren't learning anyway, so it was like even less of a environment. So I ended up becoming his like babysitter, nanny, whatever, and I would walk around the campus with him all day, every day. And I feel like Delphi was in school until 4 or 5, right?
5.
Okay, because that's what I remember. I remember it being very like a late day.
Yeah.
So I literally would take care of this baby all day, every day. And I would have to, like when he was teething and fussy, I would have to, I don't remember it anymore, but I would have to know the schedule for lunch and classes for like Renaissance and for Delphi, because I couldn't be out in the school with this baby if he was screaming, because he would interrupt other people in school.
And we all thought that you just had a baby. Like we thought you were on punishment or something. And
right. Like I had to show him off to everybody. Like, look what I did, guys. Which is funny because I always felt like that's what people were going to think, because I like disappeared for 8th grade year for half of it. And then I suddenly am back 8-ish months later. And, you know, they don't know if I was to get pregnant, if it was in the summer or not. So I was always thinking, oh gosh, people probably thought I just like randomly got pregnant and was sent off to have a baby. And that's why I wasn't there in 8th grade. And I was like, great, now I got to deal with that. So no, it was not my baby, but he did pass for my baby because he looked like he could have been mine. He had blonde hair and, you know, blue eyes, and I had like blonde hair and green eyes for most of the time. So I would walk around the streets of La Cañada, like up and down, like I would literally be on the actual street, because when he would get cranky, I would have to take him out of that environment because, again, I couldn't distract the kids that were there at school while I was babysitting this kid. So I would just be walking up.
While they're learning, you have to provide infant care. I mean,
bottles, diapers, teething. I would go and get his mom. His mom was really sweet, though, I will say. His mom was really nice. She was cool.
Was it that blonde woman?
Huh?
Was it the blonde woman?
No, she had super, super, super short hair, and she was really tall. I just remember her first name was Danielle, but I don't remember her last name. So that's all I remember. And the baby's name was Joshua. So I was with him from like 3 months to when he was like a little over a year. So I was with him through all his first. So he learned to walk, crawl, talk, teething, all that with me. So I babysat him even over the summer because she still worked at the school, and she just dropped him off at my house. So I just had a baby at my house. So again, it still looked like I just had a baby because I was literally with him all day.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. And I would just walk around like near my house with him because I would go and get food and like,
Everyone thought it was your baby for sure.
yeah, people, I mean, I'm sure people did. And,
How did he end up back in public school? Because we have some mutual friends from CV.
right. So after ninth grade started, and I didn't start with everybody because again, there was no real plan in place for me, but I wasn't going to Delphi. And then I was doing applied scholastics, like tutoring with some lady who we were just running errands. Like we went to Trader Joe's and cleaned her house and did like random stuff, like no education really. I mean, she was tutoring me with math, but like very, very few. I was more or less running errands with her during the day. Like I would just be in her car and we'd be driving
I
down
think
the
I know
freeway.
who you're talking about, but go on.
So she was nice, but I mean, I was
Yeah.
like, I'm getting further behind, and like, what are
Yeah,
you
that's
doing?
absurd.
It is. So I was asking more and more. I was like, I need to be in school. I need to be in high school. Like I should be learning. I'm doing nothing. Like, so finally my parents were like, they agreed and they signed me up. So I started ninth grade at CB, but I started late. So I started a few months into the year and then finished ninth grade and then had summer between ninth and 10th grade, which is cool. And I started 10th grade on time, which was like, yeah, I'm finally back in school.
And that was the year everything changed for us.
Yeah, but then as soon as I was getting back to normal, we had to move to Florida because our dad's company that they worked for, their company moved to a Clearwater area. Well, Palm Harbor area, I guess the place moved to. So we all moved, and we moved like November, it would have been 2022 or 2002, I'm sorry. So we moved there then, and we moved before the semester ended in California. And I didn't start and get enrolled in school in Florida until February. So I was just sitting at home for some months doing nothing and hating life and not really liking it.
So
Because
you
I was
just missed like a good 3 years of super formative education.
oh my goodness, yeah. And not even that, like just like being able to have friends and like go and hang out and be a normal kid and like do all that kind of stuff and like, worry about getting in trouble for whatever little kid drama you have, like boyfriends and who's friends with who and all that. And I was over here like, how am I going to be able to get to school and can I stay in school? Like such a drastic difference in people's lives. And I would always be like, you guys are so lucky. Your parents are like letting you be in school. And people would be like, what do you mean? I don't want to go to school. You want to go ditch? And I'd be like, no, I want to be in school. Like I have to learn. I need to get this.
You know what? That's the irony of us. And that's why I'm wearing this, because we're good girls. And we really are, but we are very bad girls too.
Yeah, it just depends. If you're in the volcano land and your thoughts are exploding, then you're a bad girl, which is
yeah. Who is it
good.
judging us as a bad girl? I would like to know, and let's examine them.
Right. So we moved to Florida and I didn't really love it, but I did end up having a class with a guy I liked, which we were friends for a while. And then the following year in 10th grade, no, I'm sorry, 11th grade, we refound each other, me and this guy, and we had history class together when I first moved there. And so we talked a little bit, and then summer came and we didn't talk, and then we randomly ran into each other the next year, and he thought I moved back to California, and I thought he just moved or switched schools, but we found each other again, and we started talking again, and so we started dating in I think 11th grade, and so we've been dating since. So that's my now husband. So we met at 16, started dating at 17. Yeah. So senior year of high school.
I love that for you. I'm so glad you've had a.
It was like the one good thing that really came out of Florida, and he's not even from Florida, which is even more funny because he's like from New York and I'm from California. So we have an East Coast, West Coast beef always going. We always got the beef brewing, right? We got to keep it fun and fresh, but but yeah, we always have our funny little rants here and there. But he can deal with an ex-Scientologist kid, so that's cool. I mean, that takes someone that's got, a good amount of everything to be able to deal with all this wild world stuff. So senior year, it's like mid-year, and we were looking at all of our transcripts, and you have your people going through all your grades to make sure you're going to pass and all that. And I guess they were looking at my stuff from when I moved and they were like, hey, none of your transfers, like none of your credits transferred over. Like all 6 classes, you didn't finish the semester before you started here. So you have no credit for 6 classes. And I'm like, so in order to graduate, I had to do regular high school during the day, stay after at my high school that I went to, and do after school classes there, and then go to Clearwater High School and do like nighttime after school classes there. So I was doing that for a while just to be able to make up enough credits to be able to graduate on time and with my class. And so I did it because obviously I was like, I have to graduate. Like that's my one, like I have to get out of high school. Like I need a GED, I need a diploma. I've
Yeah, I
already done
need
all this work
something
and
in
fought.
this world.
It's so strange, but I was like, literally all I did was school for like early morning to late at night, and I did it. And we graduated, both me and my husband, we graduated, which was amazing because we got that diploma, which was like, right, like I'm not going to be as likely to fall back into the Scientology world and just being someone's babysitter, because I did that for a few families too. Even after the one baby at Delphi, I babysat somebody else's like 6-week-old baby.
It's common. I did a lot of babysitting also. I mean,
right,
more than your normal, more like because the parents are busy doing the bridge and stuff.
Yeah, I was just gonna say they're busy doing courses and they're working, and yeah, so it's a lot. So yeah, we graduated and then we moved right after high school. We moved to Alabama and we lived together because he went to tech school out there. So we lived there and we got our first dogs together, which is amazing because those were our first little babies, our tester kids. And then once he graduated, we moved back home to Florida because, you know, I wanted to be closer to my siblings to make sure they were doing good in school and just make sure everything was good. And, you know, he didn't want to stay in Alabama. So he was like, let's go. He had younger siblings.
You're very motherly.
Very motherly. I think again, my cat had kittens when I was 6. So I'm like a grandma since I was 6, right? So
yeah, but even when you were telling the story about how you were kidnapped and brought to Mojave, you were like, yeah, I got up to go wake up my brother. I mean, you've been very maternal, I think, for a long time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm the only girl. I have just brothers, so I'm kind of mean too, but also like maternal, but you know.
I'm the only girl and I have only brothers too, but
right. You have to have thick skin in that.
Yeah.
You just have to. So we moved back home and we got married at 21. We had our daughter at 22 and our son at 23. We wanted to have our kids close together, and then they were a year and 15 days apart, which is wild and fun and all that. So we did all that cool stuff in Florida before we left. And then we did leave, moved out of the state, which we both didn't want to raise our kids there. This school system wasn't great. I mean, we made it through, but like it wasn't the most.
Yeah, clearly.
You know, yeah,
you know about that.
Best, but I mean, it was better than the other stuff that we could have ended up doing in our Scientology world. So yeah, that is pretty much our life, and we've been living here ever since.
Where?
In Texas. So we've been here ever since, and so it's still warm and nice and all that, and a little bit better environment. You know, a little bit. Just depends on where you're at. But yeah, so we've been here ever since. I've been missing California a lot, but you know, I'll get back out there for a visit soon.
Yeah, we're gonna get you out here very soon. And you spend your time volunteering as a foster mommy for dogs still. I know your house is filled with a ridiculous amount of animals, which is funny coming from me. I literally, there's no amount that's enough.
Right. Like, oh, there's a room. It's fine. It'll be fine. We'll figure it out when I bring home another dog.
Yeah.
Like but not right now. We're taking a break because we have to.
Yeah.
Like, nope, we're gonna be traveling, so we cannot have fosters. No extra friends right now. Maybe later, but not right now.
For now, I told you just try to enjoy your vacation and don't rescue any dogs on your way or anything. I said actually, because
I do travel with dog treats and cat treats though.
Well, don't we?
And a syringe. Because you never know.
Oh, I have like poop bags in my pocket at all times. Like we're crazy dog ladies, and I love that about us. And I love that you do that, and that it's something that we have in common because it's actually really rare to find. I've been a foster mentor for our group
Right.
for like 7 to 8 years. And we cannot keep fosters because we call people foster fails, right? Where they end up adopting, which is kind of the ultimate goal. But then there's nobody like you or I who continue to foster and say goodbye. So I know I've personally said goodbye to over 100 dogs, probably you too. And that is something that I consider our superpower for being grown up, having to disassociate how we learned. So
Exactly. Most people will look at it like, that's a lot of work. And I'm like, yeah, but like, it's for a little dog or a cat that needs.
I mean, compared to like the work we thought we'd have to do as Sea Org members, it's really nothing. So
we got lucky.
Yeah, we're very lucky.
We're lucky ladies.
We're very lucky. We are. We came together. We have support. We may not have our family members like we want. We might be sad sometimes, but we have each other. We have very strong support system. I've had so many people just show up, like people you don't even
know. Yeah. That you wouldn't think, I was just saying people that you wouldn't think that would reach out.
It's so touching. And you and I have discussed that we really value authenticity after everything we've been through. So
right.
Like
if it's a pretend thing, right.
Real. It's hard to find people who just keep it real, right?
Well, I think they like the pre-packaging of what they want it to look like, which okay to an extent, but then like you're having surface level relationships, and I'm just like, I don't have time.
We just don't have time for that. That's like we're like,
I got animals that await. Okay.
Yeah, I got things in my brain going on, and there's no time for the fakeness. So we'll be keeping it real on our channel as always.
Taking back Clay, keeping it real.
Taking back Clay and keeping it real. Elysia is traveling this next week, so I may try to pop on and do some little educational videos on some of my favorite research. And we really can't wait to get back to you guys. This is just like so fun, and I'm learning about you, and it's such a nice way for us to discuss our common experiences.
Yeah, reconnecting after 20 years. There's a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, down with disconnection, up with reconnection.
Right. We're gonna let our volcanoes explode, y'all.
Whoever left us the comment as L. Ron Hubbard saying not you two just made my whole week. So thank you. Please subscribe, hit the alert button so that you do know when we have new videos, the little bell. And we will see you very soon. Thank you for sharing your story with me and our viewers. I think it is important.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, we will see you guys soon. Bye.